So how do you address the issue that you're talking about, right? So how do you get at keeping people focused on the team collective effort and what's important? So on the front end, it's just defining it, but how do you keep that alive? Because ultimately, Leroy, like you were saying, you go back to where you work, right? Where you sit, what you do, and you operate most of your time as individually contributing to something, right? Whether it's your individual goals or if you've got the right perspective to how do I make the collective goals work. But that doesn't happen naturally, so how do you make that happen in a team setting?
One of my clients recently had adopted what they call the Keystone Habit, which was a slogan, to solve for Accenture. So it's this big organization spread out all over the world, and South America is competing with Asia because they have different, goals, individual goals, and that's all different teams. So they started talking on the senior team about solve for Accenture, solve for Accenture, solve for Accenture, and that really did help.
Right. So having that metaphor out there or whatever for them to work at it, and regularly having it reiterated within the company, whether it's spoken about individually or collectively coming together to do that.
And then when South America had to give up some positions to Asia because it was good for the company, they would do it, whereas before South America said, I don't really want to give up this power and this control.
Right. So that's one way to do that. Other ways that people have used to make sure that collective egos stay stronger than the individual egos or goals, if you will.
I think the important thing is to recognize that this is a culture. And what is the company culture? And is it going to require a shift? Or, like startup, you're setting the culture right now. So it really comes down to what is the culture of the company.
Right, the culture needs to be aligned with what you're trying to have as far as a team aspect.
But I think it always all comes back with communicating. It always comes back, and everybody communicates in a different way. How often somebody might need to hear something or be reminded. You might say something, but they hear it and process it in a different way because of their life experiences. And it always comes back to an open communication. I have a friend, at every meeting that they have, if they're sitting in a meeting, doesn't matter if there's 4 of them or 5 of them, they always start out going around the room saying, I'm clean with you, I'm clean with you, I'm not clean with you, you did XYZ, or whatever happened, and this is why I'm not clean with you, and just so that they break that down early and quick. And I thought when they were telling me about that, I was like, that's a perfect thing that we haven't implemented yet, because I'm trying to make sure we implement the right way. But it was very good about communicating about what's going on our team, because the team starts to break down when you and I have something going on kind of behind the scenes that other people might not know about. Then all of a sudden they start feeling it, and then it
builds up.
And it builds up, and it's all about communication that we didn't communicate because we were worried we were going to either lose our job or somebody was going to be more upset. But if you come clean and you have that open environment,
well, do it publicly.
Yeah, and I thought that you have other support, the individual around them saying, okay, well, help kind of like a group therapy.
Right.
I thought that was a good thing. I'm clean. No, Justin. Today's coffee is bad. Whatever it is.
You're thinking about how you'd always be the one I'm not clean? Is that what it is?
And you'd be like, well, it was free.
But that's it, right? So it's all about the communication, and that's a mechanism to create the right communication and keep the environment free to be able to have an effective team, right? Because if you don't bring those to the surface, then they exist below the surface, and they affect how you interact and how you communicate on issues when you're together as a team. So it becomes artificial. You create an environment of artificial harmony where there isn't really harmony, and then you really can't get at addressing the issues in the right way to create competitive advantage for your team and create a result.
And also, good communication builds trust. And if I understand exactly what this person on my team thinks about the case, the situation, now, that builds trust. Right. That's the foundation.
Right, that's the foundation, right? That's the bottom dysfunction, right? The lack of trust.
There's a lot of research that points to what he said, though, the difference between me and we, and that says that 70% of organizations are stuck at that. How do we get over from me to we? And I think a lot of that has to do with the way we set compensation, the way we reward people, and we have this idea of heroic, self going out and slaying the dragon, and not that teamwork thing. And it's a real psychological barrier to make that shift from me to we. I mean, 70% of organizations are stuck there.
So should anyone have individualized compensation?
I think there's a role for it, but
there's a balance, right? So if it's strictly individual compensation, then you're not going to create the team, right? So I'm not sure anybody has nailed the specific formula on that, but I see more companies moving towards a balance of that. There's a team kind of aspect of compensation, and there's the individual contribution aspect of compensation. And so by balancing those two, you have a better balance within your organization. And so the other thing I'd touch on the communication piece is to not think about communication in one way, shape, or form, right? So that's a great hint for meetings. So meetings are a great mechanism for communicating, and especially if you strategically design your meetings instead of just having meetings for the purpose of trying to communicate tasks or actions or activities of the company, but you're doing it with the intention of every time we're getting together, we're enhancing our team. And that mechanism ensures that, right? So we're getting clean in order to build the team, and then we have better experiences. It's not just to deal with the issues that we have to deal with. But you also need other mechanisms to communicate. So you can't just stick with just one. Well, if I implement the meeting, and we do this, that's going to solve everything, because like you said, different people receive communication differently. So you need to really have a strategy of what are the 3 to 5 ways that I'm going to communicate around this teamwork that's going to reinforce it. And so the other was the slogan or the theme that you're going to rally around, and reinforcing that in many ways that you can. How you use other types of meetings or other processes to clear some of the things that would bog down those meetings where you're trying to work on your team. And so that's where with Rockefeller Habits we recommend the daily huddle, because that's where you clean all the other issues off that you don't have to spend. And that's the other thing, a pressure on a weekly meeting or other meetings where you can be building team, talking strategy, and strategic moves that are going to separate yourself. You get too much other stuff on the plate, so you feel like we have to do it here because we can't do it anywhere else. So if you have the right setup of meetings, then you can clear the right activities from there and then focus on building the team.